So we're in the southwest of Scotland. We are probably 2.5 hours before high tide. So I think we're going to make the most of the last of the light and go and see if we can get this bass, the elusive bass. Now the reason why I want a bass is because I'm in a competition with 3 of my pals. We do the same thing every year. My target fish was drawn at random this year and it's a bass. So this is worth 5 points to me. We catch a fish like a mackerel, it's worth a point. You get your target fish, it's worth 5 points. So sun's going down, the fish are probably just starting to become a bit more lively now because they start feeding better as the sun goes down and we lose light. The tide's coming in, the conditions are perfect, so I've got big hopes to get this bass tonight, and I've got to feed the crew here as well, so no pressure. So this is my home village. It's no surprise, it's quite recognisable, and I know people don't like giving away fishing spots, but I haven't actually caught anything yet, so I'm not giving anything away. Because the target species is bass, we've got to think about the conditions that they like to hunt in, because that's what they'll be doing. They'll be hunting for their tea. So they actually like choppy water, and they don't mind shallow water either. I've caught bass in 8 inches of water before, a foot of water. So the depth really isn't that important, but what we want is a little bit of movement in the water that kind of stirs the sand up and kicks a little bit of food up for them. But casting into surf quite often is a really good way to catch bass, and most people when they're casting, they cast over them, they cast too far. They just think must get into deep water, but actually they're probably casting right over the top of them. So I'm going to fish with 2 rods tonight. One's going to be a little bit closer in, right in the surf, I mean we're talking knee height, and the other one's going to be a little bit further out, so hopefully I've got double the chance of catching my target fish. So we're about getting to the good time of the evening for fishing. So we're losing light, which is good. The tide's coming in, which is good. I've just come over to the village itself to have a look, and it's a bit choppy. It's a bit breezier than I thought it was going to be. The wind's coming from the north, so there's choppy waves coming in here. I don't want to be casting into the wind. I'm going to be using relatively light lures. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to head to the north side of the beach, and because it's northerly, that should be sheltered. Should be able to get the lure out nice and far. And to be honest, I hate fishing in wind. I absolutely hate it. So we should be out the wind over there. You might just be able to see. But look at this as well. Just beautiful skies. And hopefully tonight we'll get the northern lights. So beach, fishing, northern lights, you can't get better. I'm going to be travelling light. I normally go with one 13-foot beach caster and a spinning rod. Tonight I've got my spinning rod and I've got an LRF rod as well, so both very lightweight. This is 2.7 metres, the other one's even shorter. When I get them set up, when I get them in the water, I'll take you through the rods and reels themselves. My tackle box, the trusty tackle box we've got here, we keep the grab stuff top pocket so you can just get to it easily. So in the top tray here I've got all the handy things that I need so I can just get going straight away. Disgorgers, you catch a fish, you don't want to be hanging around, messing around, especially if you're putting the fish back, it needs to go back unharmed. So I'll click this on here and that will stay there. My hands are free, fish comes in, I can quickly disgorge it, put it back in the water unharmed and clip them back on here. Couple of knives. I use a general purpose knife here. This is really, you know, a really budget knife, but I don't mind because we're with salt water all the time, so things, even stainless knives, will start to rust in the end. So that's for general purpose and maybe bait, and I've got a fillet knife for the fish that I want to take home to eat as well. So a clean knife and a dirty knife. Here's a top tip for you. Smint boxes, very, very good for delivering one bead at a time. No mess, no fuss, cold hands, wet hands, doesn't matter. So there's a top tip, I should patent that really. Float fishing. This is actually my favourite type of fishing. I won't be float fishing here tonight, I'm looking for bass, so I'm going to have one rod with bait and I'm going to be spinning with another rod with some sort of lure that'll interchange throughout. So these are the handy, just quick to grab things in the top of the box. So very quickly, I really need to get a bait out there because the sun's going down, it's getting to the prime fishing time. But I'm going to talk you through the bait that I'm going to be using. So local to here on this beach, we've got lugworm, and these are pretty good ones. You can easily dig them yourself. You've just got to look for the little worm cast. There should be a little hole beside it, and then the lugworm is in a U shape beneath it. So you can, if you're quick and you dig, use a fork, not spade, because you'll cut them in two, and then you can get your own bait here. Another favourite for the bass, sand eels. So I've got a rig with two hooks on, so I'm going to put lugworm on one, sand eel on the other, and hopefully that's going to double my chances of getting this bass. So there's no real nice way to do this, but to get the lugworm onto the hook, you basically thread it on. So the hook goes straight in and it threads right the way through the body, and then when you get to the knot here, just push it over and keep threading, keep threading. Now the sandy tail, when they're burying, they'll basically eat the sand and they'll poo it out the back. And I think we're going to put two on, because if we've got a big nice juicy bait, we'll get a big nice juicy bass. I put one of each on. I put lugworm on the bottom hook and I put sand eel on the top hook. Now you've got to really cater for what the fish might be eating. We don't know what's out there. There could be shoals of sand eels that's getting the bass really excited. So in that case they'll be eating sand eel. But if the waves are kicking up sand and the lugworm are coming out of the sand and that's what they're preferring, and then that's, you know, we've given them basically a menu to choose from, so we're doubling our chances. So my preferred line for the spinning rod, and I even use it for the beach caster as well, is 20 pounds or 25 pound breaking strain Daiwa sensor. It's a brown line, it's monofilament. I don't often go for the bright colours because I spearfish and dive. I see lines underwater and you can actually see the yellows and the reds. So I go for a nice brown line. The reason why I use monofilament is because it's more abrasion resistant than braid. You can cast further with braid. Braid's probably stronger, but this has a good bit of stretch. You can drag it over rocks and it's less likely to break and wear than the braided line. Before I cast out, I'm going to talk to you about the weight. Because this is a light spinning rod, I've got a light, I think it's probably a 3-ounce grip lead on. Now the reason why there's grips on it is because I don't want the weight rolling around on the sand. And sometimes you do, it just depends on where you're fishing and how you're fishing. But I want this bait to be dead still so the fish can smell it and follow the scent and come and find it. So these spikes grip into the sand. It shouldn't roll around, it shouldn't tangle my trace up either, which is a big thing. So right, less talking, more casting. So this is my setup. If you like it, let me know in the comments below. If you've got something different, if you use something different or set up differently, let me know as well, because I would like to see what other people do, because I don't always catch, I quite often blank. So if you do something better, then show me. I knew there was a little bit of weed here washing in. There's been a bit of wind, so the waves over the past couple of days have kicked up. It's dislodged lots of seaweed, and now it's all washing in up to the beach. The problem we have is the seaweed stops about 10 metres out, but my line dips right into it, and the seaweed is collecting around the line, the waves are pushing it, and I'm just getting seaweed all over my hooks. I've just pulled in about half a tonne of seaweed, and it's taking 5 minutes to get it off my line. So we're going to have a move. I'm not going to waste any more time here. We're losing light. I'm going to head over to the rocks where you see, so I can actually go along the rocks a little bit, hopefully get past the line of weed and cast in from the side. That's it in theory. So we've moved from being on the beach, which is usually a really good fishing spot. The unfortunate thing is, because I've only got the spinning rods with me, I don't have the 13-foot beach caster. I was traveling light, so I don't have the height to be able to get over the weed. So the weed keeps on wrapping around the line, that pulls my bait in, and it was a complete mess. So I've just hauled about half a tonne of weed in. So what we've done, we've come along the beach, along the rocks a little bit, and we've actually got deep enough so we're behind the weed line, so we should be casting out from, we're a little bit higher up as well, we should be casting out over the initial weed and rock here, straight onto clean ground, and hopefully where the fish are. But I'm going to crack on because we're losing light. That's better, happy with that. Now the best bit, we sit back and wait for the bell to ring. So what I'm doing now as I've cast it out, I need the grips on the lead to bite into the sand, and that'll keep the bait nice and still on the seabed. So I'm just giving the line a little bit of tension, and then if you can see up at the top of the rod, you'll see a slight bend, and that's what we're looking for. So that really gives you contact between the rod and the bait. So as soon as you get that bite, you should be able to tell. Right, so while my main rod has bait on it and hopefully is attracting fish, I'm going to set up an LRF rod, so it's a light rock fishing rod. Now don't tell her, but this belongs to my 7-year-old. She's getting into fishing, she's actually really good. So the short LRF rod, light rock fishing rod that I'm going to set up now, it's this one, the bigger rod, I say it's the bigger rod, it's a 2.7 meter spinning rod, so but this is 2.1 meters, and it's a short powerful rod, and it can take a good bit of weight as well. So I'm looking for a heavy spinner that I can get some real good distance with. Now the choices that I have are some lead heads, which is a jelly eel basically with the lead head to give it some weight out. I've got some diving plugs as well. I'm really considering using that when maybe the tide comes in and it gets a bit deeper. But I think I'm going to start with something really simple, and that's just a metal kind of spoon spinner with the little attractor bead on the bottom. So that's what I'm going to go with first. We'll see what happens. It's good weight. I'll be able to get it out a good distance, especially with this cracking little rod that I've got here. So I've had a few casts with the silver metal spinner. There's nothing doing, so the best thing to do is change things up just in case the bass wants something different. So I'm going to put a diving plug on. I don't know if you can see that there. So it obviously looks like a fish, but the scoop on the nose, on different ones they're angled at different angles, so they dive deep or they dive shallow. This is a sort of mid-diving plug because it's only quite shallow water here. I'm casting into maybe 5 or 6 feet of water, but that's it for bass. You don't need any more. What I've done as well, I've removed the treble hooks off the back and underneath, and I've put single inline hooks, but facing backwards as well. So when this drags over weed, it's less likely to get snagged up. So hopefully, this is lighter, so I won't be able to cast it as far, but maybe the bass just wants something a bit different, so we'll try it. So this is one of my go-to lures, so tell me what your favourite lure is, pop it in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. that did not exactly go to plan. So first of all, went down onto the beach. The conditions were good. There's a little bit of swell, which is good. It kicks up all the sand and all the things that the bass like to eat. But there was too much weed. Every time I cast it out, my line would get caught in the weed. It would just go really heavy. I'd pull loads of weed in and end up covering the hooks. So we moved over to the rocks, cast it out behind the weed line, which was great, really good, and I was quite confident. But unfortunately, apart from one point where we had a bite, and it just didn't take, we blanked. Not ideal. So no bass, no target fish. We're gonna go home, back to base, regroup, charge everything up, and hopefully tomorrow will be a better day. Right, we're heading out in the Shetland. It's an absolutely stonking day. The sun's out, a light breeze, so there's a bit of a ripple on the water, but I'm well happy with that. So I've been in and around boats for pretty much my whole life. This is where I grew up, this is where I fished, right from the age of about 6. But I wouldn't advise you just get a boat and go. You can buy one on eBay, you can go. You legally don't need anything to buy a boat and head out to sea. But there are some good safety courses out there, but if you insist on not going on one, always make sure you have a life jacket for every member of the boat, some way to contact the emergency services, in this case channel 16 on a ship-to-shore radio. Your main engine needs to be regularly serviced, and you also need an auxiliary engine in case your main engine doesn't work. This has been a bit temperamental sometimes. She'll be alright, I'm sure, but just in case, we've got a 5-horse Tohatsu 2-stroke to get us back in at a very slow pace, but at least it will get us back in. So safety is key. So we've come out to one of my favourite spots. It's a reef that runs from near the headland here over to one of the bays, and if you get it right, if you get the drift just right, you can go the full way and hopefully not get a snag, not lose any tackle, but also it's almost like a breeding reef as well. So there's lots of small fish down there, but they quite often pick up quite a few big ones for tea. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to drop down for mackerel. We're going to use feathers on rod and line, drop down for mackerel. Mackerel's my favourite fish. It's great for the barbecue. It's superb bait to catch other fish, bigger fish like pollock or cod or even bass, which we're going to go for in a little while. So we'll drop down here and see if we can get a few in the basket. So what I'm doing now is setting up feathers on the short boat rod, the bait rod. These are really simple. Mackerel will eat anything small, shiny, colourful. They're really aggressive predatorial feeders, so we'll just drop these down, we'll put it all the way to the bottom. Quite often you get hit by mackerel on the way down, so we'll get to the bottom and we'll work our way up through the water columns just to see if we can pick up a few for tea tonight first of all, but also for bait for coming out fishing next time. Right, so we've got a 5-ounce lead. The tide shouldn't be running that fast. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 feathers on here. We've got a slosh multiplier reel. These are really good for casting, but you can also use them for inshore boat work as well. A nice short rod. I don't even know what this rod is. I've had it for a long time. It's probably old, or as old as I am, but it'll do the job for mackerel. We're going to splosh it in the water. Down it goes. Let's catch some dinner. just what we were looking for. So what we're going to do, if you want to eat these, the best thing to do is to bleed them. So it just makes the meat better. It's the same with deer and venison as well. So we're going to just cut the gills. We'll get them bled out. And then they'll taste, the meat will just be so much nicer with the blood drained out of it. A bit gruesome, but that's what you have to do. Another little whiting. I've already got whiting on my list for this year, so I don't get a point for that, but that one will go back. So what I've done next, we've just moved to a different location. It's a different part of the reef, and what I have done is cut a nice fillet of mackerel. I've used one of the smaller mackerels because the bigger ones are going to be going onto the barbecue later on, which you'll see. And we're just going to cut these into small slivers. We're going to keep the feathers on, and we're going to bump them baited with the mackerel along the bottom, and that will open up the species list to us. So there's haddock, cod, sand eel, mackerel will still take it, so there's all kinds of things, even octopus, we get plenty of those around here. So we'll put the little strips onto the feathers, we'll drop it down, we'll bump it along the floor. That'll kick up a little bit of sand and some interest, and hopefully we'll have a bit more to look at species wise. And by the way, pan round here because Viet is into something. Pull it. Now, got whiting and a really nice mackerel. So we've got a nice little grey gurnard here as well. I've already had a point for this year, so I can't take this one. They're armoured, they're spiky, but if you can get a big one, it's probably alongside mackerel, probably my favourite fish to eat. They are absolutely stunning, but they're not really around in any size this year. They're all quite small, but we'll get him back and make sure that he can grow, and I can catch him again next year when he's a bit bigger. Right, so while these boys are pulling up the mackerel and the whiting with some baited feathers on, I'm going to set up the bass rod. We're actually going to go in really close to the rocks over there. I've had bass there before, I've speared bass there before when we're spearfishing. You don't see many of them. You go on the south coast of England and you're absolutely surrounded by them. Up here, you just don't see them at all. So we're going to get this set up, we'll go a bit closer in, we'll do some casting, and I'm not giving up on this target fish yet. So we've just come a bit further inshore. We don't really get bass out on the deep marks that we've been on. So we've come in where the waves kick up all the debris. That's what the bass like to eat. They like a bit of movement in the water. And I've got a sort of small mackerel, joey mackerel lure with, again, I'm a big fan of putting the inline hooks on here instead of the trebles, because if you want to release a fish, a treble can cause lots of damage, whereas this is just a really simple unhooking process. So we're going to have a few casts and see if we can tick off this elusive bass. Right, last couple of casts now. We've really done everything we could to get a bass. We're out of options. I've got the lure rod out now. We're spinning. We're in close to the rocks where they should be. I'm afraid it's drastic measures now. I'm going in to get one. So what do we need to spearfish? We need booties. You can get them anywhere, just really cheap neoprene ones. These are 3mm, probably from Decathlon or a supermarket, something like that. Don't need to go overboard with these, a few quid for those. We need the wetsuit itself. This is a Cressy open cell wetsuit. It's actually designed for spearfishing. A normal wetsuit has a liner on the inside and you get the cold water flush to begin with. This doesn't. This has no liner. The actual neoprene sticks to your skin, and you don't get the cold flush, so you can actually stay in the water a lot longer because it keeps you warmer. But if you wear it on a hot day, you get sweaty, so you need to get in the water pretty quick after putting it on. We've got the trousers, the bib and brace, and we've got the most important bit, the pizzle. You can't pee in these like you do in normal wetsuits, so I fitted a pizzle with a hole in the end, and it's actually waterproof. Stuff can come out but not in. Really good. And then a pair of dexterous neoprene gloves, and that's pretty much it. I'll take you through the mask and the snorkel and the weights really shortly. I'm going to get dressed. Right, so what I'm doing now, I've got some water. It's cold, unfortunately. I usually I like warm water because it's just nicer, and baby shampoo, very gentle for my skin. We just need soapy water, and this is because it's an open cell wetsuit. There's no liner on the inside. It sticks to your skin, so we'll put some baby shampoo in here. Make sure the feet are up so it's not going to run out. Give it a good shake, and once it's all foamy inside, we can fill it with foamy soapy water. Top tip, these water bottles with the squeezy lid, they're closable, they don't leak, they're very cheap, they're usually full of water, and it holds just the right amount to get your wetsuit on. So top tip of the day. Once we've done that, gather both ends up and give it a really good shake, and you want that foam to spread all around inside of it so it just slips right on. These are so awkward to get on. Doesn't matter how many times you do it, it's like being born again. And then the all important beaver tail. So the spear gun that I'm using today, these actually come with a single band, a thicker band, but just because of the loading aspect, it's much easier to load with two smaller bands. You do one at a time. You pop this on your chest, you pull the bands back, they clip into a little notch on the spear which sits on top here, and then when you pull the trigger, they'll fire the spear forwards. So the spear itself is about 1 meter. This is a Pathos Laser 90 open. Really, really good spear gun, particularly if you're just starting out. It's not very complicated, but it's really effective. Also the length as well. If you're going in and around the kelp, it's not too long. 90 centimeters is about right for a sort of general purpose spear gun. So we've got about 1 meter length of spear, about 4 meters length of Dyneema line, and the gun itself at full stretch is about 1.5 meters to nearly 2 meters. So you've got probably about a 7 or 8 meter range at max if you see a fish down there under the water. So we've talked about lube for the wetsuit. Another tip for when you're putting your mask on, particularly if you've got a mustache, beard or facial hair, is Vaseline. So usually if you've got hair, I mean, this is where your mask seals, so you really don't want your mask filling up the whole time. So if you put a good daub of Vaseline in and around your tash, it should get a good seal to where the mask sits, and hopefully you won't have to keep on emptying your mask while you're under the water. So I've got my diver's safety knife. Really important to have the diver's knife. So that sits just in there with Velcro. It doesn't get tangled because it's on the inside of my leg. That's a really key point. If it was out here and you had a float line, there's a good chance that it's going to get tangled, but it's tucked away in here, so that's the best way for it. So the mask, and this is a Cressy mask. It's low volume, which is really important when you're holding your breath, because I won't go into it too much, but the oxygen If you have a large mask with a higher volume, then you're going to suffer with pressure around your eyes and your head and your ears. So a nice low volume mask specifically designed for free diving and spearfishing is key. And this even has a GoPro mount on top, so you can capture all your action. Sometimes these have a tendency to fog up, so it's a good, you can get demisting sprays for these as well, but equally as well, you just spit in the mask, give it a rub, rinse it in the water, and that should do you for your session. Weight belt. This is usually really heavy out of the water, and it's meant to be. When you're in the water, you hardly feel it, but it's you can't free dive properly, you can't spearfish properly without weight to try and help you get you down there. This is really buoyant, and you'll just end up floating straight back up again. Right, there's a load of fins that you can choose from. If you're just starting out, or if you're not sure if it's for you, you don't want to spend a lot of money, just get some plastic fins. They're fins, not flippers. So you can see me on my new channel, Only Fins. These are long, you can get them in different strengths, different flex. Well, some of them flex a lot more than others. So these are a medium flex, medium strength, which means they're not too stiff that it tires my legs out too quickly, but they're not too soft, so they can give me power to get through a really hard current. Carbonio GFT, they're not full carbon, they're more of a composite between carbon and plastic, so they're quite scratch resistant. I'm not going to be spending £400 or £500 on carbon fins and be absolutely gutted when I scratch them. These are a really good intermediate fin. You don't have to pay a lot of money. If you're just starting out, you can build your kit up. Right, we're safely at anchor. We've checked the anchor's not dragging. We've had a check over the kit. We've got a couple of guys on the boat. They're going to be doing some filming, making sure the boat's nice and safe. We've got Gareth in the water with the camera, so hopefully we can show you what's going on underneath the water on the seabed. We're in about 8 or 10 meters of water, so let's go see what's down there. So that was a bit of fun. As you know, I've been after a target species. and as soon as I dropped in the water, I saw a shoal of bass literally underneath the boat. So I had a bit of a panic, and it was a bit of a rush shot. So I took the shot. Gareth was filming, completely missed, just absolutely gutted. But there's plenty of fish down there. We're seeing pollock, we're seeing wrasse, we're seeing coley. So yeah, utterly my fault, but I'm going to go back in. I can't disappoint these lads. I've got to get them something for the dinner tonight. We're gonna go and have one more attempt for these bass. We need to find the shoal. I spooked them, I shot at them once, they spooked away. We'll let them calm down. I've reloaded, and we're gonna go and have a quick look to see if we can find them. Fingers crossed, because we're running out of time now. I think that's about our lot. We're not far away from the boat. What I think we'll do is hunt the gullies all the way back to the boat, call it a day. We've got some mackerel, we've had a really good day out in the water, we've got a barbecue to go and sort out, so let's go feed the boys. If we get lucky on the way back to the boat, I'll be the happiest man alive. Unbelievable. The life down there is just fish and more fish. Lots of small pollock, loads of wrasse, but if you've ever had wrasse in a curry, honestly it's so underrated. But we've done okay today, we've had a good day, we got some mackerel for the barbecue, so I think we're going to call it a day. Well, that's it. The end of our trip. It's been absolutely fantastic. Really enjoyed it. The temperatures dropped quite a lot now at night. We've got our mackerel. We didn't get our bass, but we will next time, I promise. But for now, we're going to cook the mackerel on the fire, have a beer, enjoy some chat, and we'll see you next time. But don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us a lot. See you next time.